Good morning, everybody. It's Monday. The weekend has finished. It's a gloriously bang average week we've got coming up because it's the international break. And then we've got another week of international break. It's 2 weeks where we're going to have to try and reflect on what has happened with Manchester United over the last few weeks. And it's not been particularly pretty. It's not been very enjoyable. Lots of us have not got smiles on our faces. And after what we saw at the weekend on Sunday from Liverpool and from Man City, it highlighted the golf inequality there really is between Manchester United and the people right at the top, where we're aiming towards. I'm going to be speaking about that in today's video. You can see the title of it. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is facing his biggest challenge so far as Manchester United manager, and that is, for me, without doubt. I'm going to explain that in a bit more detail. We're going to look at Fabrizio Romano's comments on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's future. We're going to look at Gary Neville's comments after the City and Liverpool game. He was questioned about Solskjaer, his future, and he was questioned about Ronaldo. We're going to speak about Donny van der Beek. We're going to speak about Rio Ferdinand. We're going to speak about a lot of things. It's going to be a busy show, as it always is, but no doubt after that game between City and Liverpool, I think that's made things, it's highlighted things even more so. It's forced an even brighter spotlight onto Manchester United, onto Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, onto everything that is happening at the moment. As always, throughout this entire stream, you know what happens. You're watching on Facebook. Good morning to all of you. You're watching on YouTube. Good morning to all of you. Please fire in your questions, your opinions in the comments, your super chats on YouTube. And I don't think you can do anything on Facebook. Anything you want to do to get involved. It's interactive as always. I can see plenty of regular faces down there. Chris, you're there. Victor, nice to see you back. Or Meet, you're there. Abby, you're there as well. Josh, you're there. Anuj, T. It's an absolute mod party down in the comments there this morning. And watching over on Facebook, who have we got? We've got Daniel McDermott. Good morning to you, sir. Peter, I can see you. Paul Brian Smith, Garen Kenny, Mod. Lots of you. Got CJ watching from Indiana. How you doing there, buddy? Look, it was a frustrating weekend for Manchester United, eh? That first 45 minutes against Everton, you saw in my match reaction, I was really happy with it. There were so many questions about that starting 11 from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Why did he drop Ronaldo? Why was Pogba on the bench? Why was Sancho on the bench? But United really did control that first 45 minutes. And by that, I mean, look, we're always labelled as Moments FC, right? As a team that comes in and out of games for individual moments of brilliance, but then disappears for like 60 to 70 to 80 minutes. I thought that first 45 minutes there against, Jesus Christ. Oh, it's Monday morning. Against Everton. I thought we really, really controlled it. And that goal we deserved there from Anthony Martial. It was a good performance in that first half. And then in that second half, it all went to shit. And this is why the spotlight is brighter than ever on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Manchester United. Because this game yesterday, if you watched it, I'm sure you did. Ah, man, it was phenomenal level of football. Phenomenal level of football. Individual brilliance, yes, but team, collective units. Oh, man, absolutely. You can't fault it. I really don't want to sit here and basically suck Liverpool and City off this early in a week, but you have to, because the levels are there. What you saw between City and Liverpool yesterday was just, it's where we're aiming towards, right? It's where the ambition lies for Manchester United to get towards this season. But how far away from that are we? You can't really notice it until you see Liverpool and City going toe-to-toe against each other. You know, you can watch Liverpool playing on one weekend or City playing on one weekend, and you can see, oh, yeah, they're good. Oh, yeah, they're good. But when they play each other and they try and cancel each other out, you get a game like that. And then you get a game like Manchester United against Everton. As I said, I was pretty happy with that first 45, but our sheer collapse in that second half. Manchester United are on their longest streak at Old Trafford without keeping a clean sheet in not 10 years, not 20 years, not 30 years, not 40 years, 50 years. It's been since Manchester United were this poor at home in the Premier League. That is a staggeringly bad statistic. A staggeringly bad statistic. And if you look at how Manchester United played in defence, it's not particularly hard to see why. This is a screenshot from the game from the moment towards the end where Tom Davies, he's passed the ball there. Obviously, he squares it to Yerry Mina, who thankfully was a centre-back and thankfully was offside. But wow. That I know that maybe when you get snapshots of individual moments in games, it doesn't really give you the whole full context in the picture. But Jesus Christ, man, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players behind the ball, 8, 9. That must be when we have one up there. No, where are you, Luke? Luke had an absolute poopy stinker game, really, against Everton, didn't he? I think Luke was at fault for the goal itself. I would say Fred was more at fault. If you watch my video, by the way, I let you all know, ladies and gents, on YouTube. I do more videos on Facebook as well. I do because I don't always like to spam YouTube with every single short opinion. So on Facebook now, regularly, on most days, there will be shorter 3-minute videos where I because there's going to be one today. I'm going to be speaking in more depth about Ronaldo and why I actually didn't think it was the wrong decision to rest him. Just little smaller ones like that. So if you ever do want to see a bit more of me, why wouldn't you? Right? Okay. Facebook, there's plenty on there too. Let me head down to the comments here quickly and see what you are saying. These types of pictures are not the first. Istanbul and Young Boys and many, the list goes on. I mean, you're not wrong there. That's why I'm pointing this out. And I can see so many people like talking about the fact that we rested Ronaldo, the fact that we didn't have Pogba in that starting 11. Ultimately, the biggest talking point, that's the talking point. Our defensive unit. That's the biggest problem we've got right now at Manchester United. Scoring goals still isn't the problem. Controlling a game is the problem. And that, for me, starts in the shape in defence. Let me see. There's a comment there coming in from Surav. Good morning to you, Surav. How you doing, buddy? Don't know about others, but Ollie has been under the scanner since he's taken the job. Don't recall any other manager being called out after every game in the last 3 years. Ollie deserved better. What you've got right there, Surav, is the consequence of expectation. Right now, Manchester United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer are massively under that spotlight. And that's because of the expectations that are now on Manchester United. If we hadn't signed Ronaldo, we hadn't signed Sancho, we hadn't signed Varane, there would be far more leeway. But the leeway isn't going to be there. And I'll be honest, even without those signings, the leeway just shouldn't be there for that. That's just Sunday League. Look, as I said there, you can't see said this blows my mind. You'd be fuming if your kid's under-9s team defended like this in training, let alone Manchester United. And it's absolutely spot on. You would be. That's the bigger issue here. And that's, for me, is why Solskjaer is getting critiqued so much. Victor, I can see you there. Welcome. Nice to have you back in town, by the way. Where have you been? You see, I'm not sure about your comments, though. You see how Ole is laughing on the touchline at the end of the game like a clown. Like, seriously, who does that? Not a United manager. He should be fuming with that result, not smiling and laughing. It's embarrassing. Now, you're not the only person to think that, Victor. My opinion on that is I think people look into things too much in terms of what a manager's persona is on the sideline. People were angry that Jose, you can be angry at how Jose acted on the sideline because you could be angry that Van Gaal, I don't look into that too much. If I'm being completely honest, it's just the fact that at that particularly emotional time for United fans, when you're just massively frustrated because you're drawing with Everton, you then go and see your manager smiling. You're like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And that's why it's annoying. I do understand the frustration of that, but I personally wouldn't look into it too much. John Overkill coming in here with a comment just to try and dampen the Ollie out shouts, I suppose. Real Madrid, PSG, Barcelona, they all lost at the weekend. Real Madrid, well, Barcelona, they're having a shit start to the season. But it's not really about looking at other teams. I try not to look at other teams, which, again, I'm probably going to make myself sound like a hypocrite because I've literally just talked about Liverpool and City and how we're getting towards them. But that's the context of the Premier League. That's our ambition, right? Our ambition is to win the Premier League. So we have to look at the two top teams above us. Nick, what are you saying here? A world-class David De Gea, a formidable back four on paper, and two defensive-minded midfielders still conceding every game. We need to fix that now. And that's absolutely a spot-on comment, Nick, there. Because that's where the utter confusion comes for me when you see this. It's not as if we've got Taibbi in goal, with Prunier, with Phil Neville, with an old Laurent Blanc. Oh, he was all right to his fair. And then Phil Jones in defence. Nah. We've got David De Gea looking like in his best form since 2016. We've got Luke Shaw, who during the summer, I would argue, was probably the best left back at Euro 2020. I would argue that Manchester United, that Raphael Varane is one of the best centre backs in the world. That Harry Maguire proved he was world class, and that Wan-Bissaka is the best defensive minded right back in the league. And you're playing two holding midfielders. You have got, if there's one thing you should be getting with all of that, it's a clean sheet. We are so set up to get a clean sheet, and we don't keep any clean sheets. That is exactly why, and it's a good comment, Nick. It's exactly why the frustration really, really is there, because we haven't got a crap defense. On paper, we have our best defense we've had in a long, long time. But on paper, we have our worst defense on record for 50 years in the Premier League in terms of keeping a clean sheet at Old Trafford. Or, good morning to you, sir. Our next 10 games are difficult. I'm playing devil's advocate here. At what point do we just say thank you for your work, but it's not going to work? I think probably at the end of this 10 games, I'm going to be doing a video specifically on... So because it's the international break this week, it gives me the opportunity to take a little bit of a step back, to not have to do match previews and starting 11s for the game coming up. And it gives us 2 full weeks to really try and sit back as fans and analyze and assess what we're doing. So today, there's going to be a video going out at 1 p.m. Changes are needed at Man United. Solskjaer's dilemma. That's what I'm calling the video. And I'm going to detail in that the key issues that I see that have to be resolved. Tomorrow or at some point, I'm going to be looking at the problem with Fred and McTominay. I'm also going to be looking at the problem with Manchester United's defense. If there are any like bigger videos that you'd like me to do, hit me up on Twitter at @SamPeoples_. These 2 weeks are the times that we're allowed to give ourselves a bit of a time to look in a bit of a deeper way at the issues. It's not just saying United's defense is shit. Why is United's defense shit? What is wrong with the coaching? I really want to try and speak to somebody who has a real insight into that, because I don't, if I'm being completely honest. Let me go up here and read a few more of your comments out here. Fred and Scott are not defensive midfield players. They can't do that role together, says Chris. It's a fair point. Yeah, neither of them are defensive midfielders, and that's the hilarious thing here. We've got Fred, who, look, we had an interview with Fred here on United People's TV, which I'm sure you've all seen. And in that, he's saying, my favourite position is in a more attacking sense. I like to be in the opponent's half and close to the opposition's box. That is what Fred's natural inclination is. But he's been turned into a defensive midfielder, a la Anderson, exactly what happened to him. Scott McTominay is a box-to-box midfielder, but he's being made to play as part of a double pivot because we haven't got that central midfielder. And then we've got Paul Pogba. Now, the Paul Pogba thing is the one I get. I get the questions about Ronaldo not starting, but I personally don't think it was the wrong decision. Pogba not starting, however, that made no sense. In my sense, that made no sense whatsoever, because Rashford's going to come back. He's going to be playing on our left wing, so Pogba has to play in that central midfield position. So I found that very, very strange. And saying, I don't use Twitter, but I'd love you to analyze Ronaldo's work rate and overall contribution to games. Good suggestion there, Ant. Any more of them, fire them in on Twitter if you can to me. That's a good one there. I like that. Let me note that down, in fact, Dan. That's what I'm saying. Ronaldo contribution. There you go. Noted. Rory, good morning to you, sir. What are you saying? What's the key difference between United and LFC and MCFC? It's not the quality of the players, it's the coaching and management, no question. To a degree, yes. But the one thing that I want to say here, absolutely on record, is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and this is something I was going to say later in the week, but hell, you can get it now. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a very nice man. He's a very nice man. He's a nice manager. Players seem to get along with him. He's not someone who jars or grinds against them. He might grind against other people in his spare time, but Solskjaer is not somebody who gets up in people's faces too often, who pisses people off often too often. I think if Solskjaer continues to have that approach with his coaching staff, that his head will be on the block first. If Solskjaer wants to keep his job, things have to change at Manchester United. And the coaches, in my opinion, have to change at Manchester United. Solskjaer's learning on the job. Carrick is learning on the job, and McKenna is learning on the job. The only person inside that coaching staff who isn't learning on the job is Mike Phelan. Mike Phelan is supposed to be there with a nod to Fergie in the past, and I think it's more like an old boys appointment. I'm not sure Phelan is doing his job properly. Fergie was a great manager, not a coach. He surrounded himself with people like René Muhlenstein, who was there for so long, with Carlos Queiroz, who was there for so long, in different roles. Because Fergie wasn't a coach. Fergie was a manager, and when it came to managing, that's what he was fantastic at. But he didn't want to be the person leading the sessions. He was surrounded himself with top coaches. Solskjaer, I think 3 years in, we can say that is not what Solskjaer is good at. I think from an attacking sense, yes, but from a whole collective sense, no. So I think if Solskjaer doesn't get selfish and sort of point the finger at the coaches and say, you know what, you're not doing your job properly, then it will be Solskjaer's head on the block. It's either him or the coaches, in my opinion. And if Solskjaer really wants to keep his job, I think he has to make changes in the backroom staff. If we're looking for a proper coach, says Quasi, we must consider Roberto Mancini. He's experienced and can win trophies with the team. As I said, I'm not going to be speaking about replacements for Solskjaer. I, first of all, don't think it should happen. I, B, don't think it will happen. All right, we're only a couple of points off top of the Premier League. We might be struggling in the Champions League, but because of that win against Valencia, we're fine. We're in a very strong position. We're not in a bad position in any way, shape, or form. That might change after our next 10 games, of course. Our next 10 games are massively, massively crucial. But the pressure is now stronger than ever. And that game there, as I said, that game between Liverpool and City, that just intensified the strength of that spotlight because we saw how good they are. We saw how good they can be. Villarreal, sorry. Yeah, I don't know whether I said the wrong thing. Villarreal, Valencia. Potato. You know what I mean. The problem with our defence, says Atty on Facebook, is at the level of coaching. Tuchel came to Chelsea and totally transformed their scrap defence to the best defence ever. Ollie has to work on that too and bring out the best of our defence. There's no real excuses anymore with that defence. There are no excuses anymore with that defence. To have the worst defensive record in terms of keeping clean sheets at Old Trafford in 50 years with Varane, Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, Shaw and De Gea, purely inexcusable. Completely inexcusable. And seeing that, yeah, man, as you're right there, it's not the first time we've seen any madness like that. But it probably won't be the last either. Matthew saying, am I the only United fan that does like Fred? You let me know in the comments what your reaction to that comment, that question from Matt is no, I do like Fred. But Fred should not. And I did a shorter video on this at the weekend, which, I mean, it got like 1,400 comments. So clearly Fred is a massive talking point among United fans right now. I like Fred to a degree, but Fred should not be a starter for Manchester United every single week in midfield. It's a bit like Marouane Fellaini. He's one of those players. The sort of player that should not be starting every single week for you. But when you need him in the right situation, I can understand the use of Fred. But it's the fact that we have no central midfield, that Fred keeps his position in the team, and whether or not you think Donny van de Beek could play in that role, it's the fact that Donny van de Beek is basically getting forced out of Manchester United because he's not getting a chance because Fred's playing every week. That's where the frustration comes from, really, with Fred. And also, when you see Fred getting out muscled by Demarai Gray, that's why I was so pissed off with what Fred did at the weekend. 2 situations there where he could have taken the yellow card. It is the most bog standard thing for any defender, any midfielder whose task it is to sit back when your team is on the corner, just in case a counter-attack happens. Your job is to stop that counter-attack before it becomes a counter-attack. And Fred had 2 opportunities to do so. 2 opportunities to come there, get the easy yellow card. He didn't take either. He tried to do a tackle. He didn't do it well. He tried to then outmuscle Demarai Gray, who's a whippet, by the way, and didn't do that either. 2 times he failed to do a very basic thing, and that's why I was so pissed off about him. Fred could have even pushed the ball out of play. He could have done anything. Just don't let the man past you, and he did. Let me go down here. I'm sorry I don't rate Fred. He's piss weak, says Ryan. He's piss weak. Kerry, you're saying I don't mind Fred. He's just not consistent enough to start every game. VDB is way better. We don't know that really because we've never really seen it. Let's have a look down here. He has no use, says Dana. At least you're sitting on the fence. Ash, you're saying, I wouldn't say it's a bad defense. Let's be honest, my Fred doesn't work in midfield at all. I believe he needs to give Van der Beek a chance instead of Fred. You're not the only one there, Ash, that's for sure. As he makes too many mistakes, just like Phil Jones used to wait until we were a few goals up and then chuck Fred on maybe to help him. Look, I don't know. Look, with Fred, for me, as I said, I don't want to see him start for Manchester United anymore. I know I will, but I don't want to. I think Matic and Pogba is probably going to be the best partnership, but they just don't have the legs for it, eh? The legs for it. Chris, you're saying, Sam, I really don't understand why you don't want to get rid of Ole. You've got to ask yourself, can a lot of other managers get more out of the team we have put together? Because I think other managers, end of comment. Look, I've explained my stance on Solskjaer. Honestly, and I don't mean this as a disrespect to you, Chris. I'm not going to repeat myself every single time anybody asks me about Solskjaer anymore. I've said my statement in a message to Ollie Out fans. I've explained my position completely. So if you want to know my position on Solskjaer, I've said it there. I don't want to have to keep repeating that. As I said, it's not a disrespect to you, Chris, but it's going to be such a prevalent question. I just don't want to have to keep repeating myself. En, how you doing, buddy? Haven't seen you down here before. Make sure you subscribe if you are new. How will the best deal the CDM? What's the best way to deal with the central defensive midfield issue until the transfer market opens? What about Rashford applying a better defense is a stronger offense? What of Van der Beek? With the central defensive midfield issue, I said at the start of the season, it's basically Manchester United are going to be compromising. It's just compromising it, whether it's going to be Van der Beek and Fred, compromise. Whether it's going to be McTominay and Fred, compromise. Whether it's going to be McTominay and Pogba, compromise. Matic and Pogba, compromise. Every single setup that we have in midfield is going to be a compromise until we sign a defensive midfielder. If we're in a position, it's basically Solskjaer's job now to get to January and hope that Manchester United are really still in with a good chance. Because if we can do that and we can get a central midfield signing, maybe things will change. But it's no excuse to be playing the way we are doing. You don't need 11 world-class players to play world-class football. All right? I'm not coming here and saying that's an excuse for Solskjaer. That you shouldn't expect United to be playing better than we are until we sign a central midfielder. That's bullshit. There's no way. There's no way we should be playing as bad as that. Sure, we might not reach the levels of Liverpool and City until, we have that balanced midfield. But it doesn't negate for the fact that this sort of defending for Manchester United is absolutely inexcusable. And not having a central midfielder doesn't change that, in my opinion. Or saying Fred gets pushed off the ball too often. Players run through him all the time. He has very little football IQ. Ollie said he likes the desire, the energy. And this is what I mean. Like, Ollie, man, you are going to get yourself sacked if you stick with McFred. That loyalty to McFred is unfounded. It got you here, but it won't get you there. I've said that as a sort of mentality issue for Manchester United. And Solskjaer just reverts to what has worked for him before in situations where he feels slightly under pressure because he wants that safety net. It's like he's putting two condoms on, except both condoms have got holes in, McTominay and Fred. And he can't do it, man. He has to take the step forward. I don't know how you do that in midfield. Honestly, it's a really tough thing. I understand that there's a lot of reasons for people to be frustrated and for people to be shouting Solskjaer out. And I like to try and think about my points a lot more because at the surface, it's bullshit. United aren't playing how we should. Yeah, sack him. Let's go. Getting a new manager in, that will change all our problems. I don't think that's the case. I personally disagree with that. But at the same time, I understand why so many of you are pissed off. And Solskjaer's got to do it from now on. It's what I said in the title of the video. It's his biggest challenge to date. All right? We've got 10 games coming up now. We've got Leicester. We've got Atalanta. We've got Liverpool at home. We've got Atalanta away as well. We've got Spurs away. I think you can throw in Arsenal and Chelsea and Watford inside those games as well. Man United have got a hell of a lot coming up that if Solskjaer by the end of those 10 games hasn't got Manchester United to where he needs to be, he will be sacked. All right? You heard that first. I don't think Solskjaer will survive after those 10 games if this continues. This trend has to stop. And I don't know how, I'm being honest, I don't know how that defense gets changed overnight now. I don't know how our defensive issues get changed before the international break, because it's not as if we're missing a... Cool, you can argue that we're missing Harry Maguire, but yeah, our back five there, we're still De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Lindelof, and Shaw. And Lindelof, you might not like him, but I think Lindelof is actually a good defender. I thought he was actually probably our man of the match against Everton, actually. There's no excuse. Not having Maguire isn't an excuse. So what's going to happen after the international break that's really going to change our defence? It has to come down to the coaching. And for us to, if we're not at this stage now, are we really going to be that difference in 2, 3, 4 weeks' time? And not unless something dramatically changes. And it all has to change from the training ground. That's what I'm saying about Solskjaer. He either stays completely loyal to these coaches that, for me, aren't coaching this team properly, or he says that he's the problem. And from a selfish perspective, Solskjaer has to point the finger at the coaches, right? Anuj, the next 10 to 12 games are going to shape our season. Simple. Solskjaer must become ruthless. He has seen the problems. McFred shouldn't be playing anymore. They shouldn't be playing anymore, but we all know they bloody will. And that's a big, big problem as well. Or you're saying team with a clear game plan, decent coaching will play good football. Look at Brentford. Pogba is probably worth more than their squad. Ollie, learn, please. Brentford doing big bits. Graham Potter at Brighton, even without Basuma in midfield, Brighton looked like Brighton. That team and style has never come at Manchester United. We know that. We absolutely know that. It's a big issue, and it's not just it's the style. It's when you see shit like that. It's that sort of what? How did you what? There's not having a style, and there's defending like that, making a goddamn triangle over here surrounding players, and then just leaving all this space over there. That's definitely Istanbul levels. Istanbul levels there. Craig, you're saying Lindelof is really growing on me because the last 3 games he can produce better results. Now, Lindelof for me was always a good defender. Lindelof should never have been a partner for Harry Maguire. That was the issue with Lindelof. Play him as a backup to Maguire. You have a very good defender. McTominay and Fred, both decent squad players for Manchester United. Play them alongside each other. They're not good players. Play them in the right situations with the right partners. They can both be decent players for Manchester United. The exact same issue with McTominay and Fred midfield that we had with Lindelof and Maguire last year in defence. Together, they didn't work with each other. On their own with a better partner, they will be better players. All right? That is a very good point that I've just made inside my head, which sounded all right when I said it too. I think McTominay and Fred are both decent squad players for United. I think they will have a role, but they shouldn't be anywhere near that starting 11 together at all. Jonathan, you're saying Lindelof is a good defender. Watch him for Sweden. Agree, he needs the right partner. Victorim, you're saying Ollie needs to stop choosing Fred and McTominay together for another game, or else he'll be gone before Christmas. He's digging his own grave. That's a comment I can't disagree with. It's a comment I keep saying. McFred will be the end of Solskjaer if he keep fucking banging on with it. It's not as if they're playing well. That's the thing I don't get about McFred and why Solskjaer keeps sticking with him. They're not playing well together. They hardly play well together. Play him against a team like Leeds, or probably, I'll be honest here, play him against Liverpool, they'll probably be better because Liverpool will come at us. It's these sorts of teams where you need the extra energy from Fred, the extra energy from McTominay, and less so the creative spark from deep. When you're playing against Everton, West Brom, Young Boys, Villa, West Ham, that's where you don't want McTominay and Fred. That's where you don't need that extra drive and intensity against a very impressive attacking unit. That's where you need someone who can play make from deep. And that's the problem at Solskjaer. He gets it right with McTominay and Fred in certain games, but just using them in every goddamn game, that's just bullshit. But will Solskjaer be sacked? Let's head over to hear what Fabrizio Romano has had to say on this exact issue. This is his latest video. Came out last night. If you haven't heard it, this is what Fabrizio is saying about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's future right now as Manchester United manager. I think you'll be able to hear this. Let's see.
From what I'm told, nothing has changed. As of now, from Manchester United, they have no panic. They know that Solskjaer will need some time to improve the team, to improve the identity, to start and rebuild the identity with Cristiano Ronaldo, who is a fantastic player, a fantastic champion, but he's really changing the idea of the team. So this is why they need to adapt to Cristiano Ronaldo as new key player. Jadon Sancho will need some time to show his skills at Manchester United. He's so young. He was amazing with Borussia Dortmund.
Right, anyway. Let's not go into Ronaldo and Sancho, but Fabrizio there saying the stance, as far as he knows, is very, very similar to what it was before. Very, very clear. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer isn't going to be sacked, and I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to be sacked. So this is what I'm saying as fans. Look, don't have your energy in shouting Ollie out. All right, this is my suggestion to you. You're allowed your own opinions, right? I'm not here trying to force feed an opinion down your neck. You think what you want to think. I just think if you're going to try and direct positive energy towards Manchester United, then direct it into what can change for Solskjaer, because I don't think Solskjaer is what's going to be changed. But what can be? That's why I'm doing my video later today. Hopefully around about 1 p.m. Depends how quickly I can edit it myself, because I do edit all my videos myself, apart from the ones from the editor. But yeah, that's what I'm going to try and do, because as Fabrizio says there, his job, I don't think his job is under threat right now. But Solskjaer's at the crossroads. He's at the crossroads where if you can twist and turn down a different path right now, then you build on on certain positives that we've seen at the start of this season. Because look, I know we've been playing bad right now. I know we've been playing bad. Let's have a quick look at the Premier League table, because we have been playing bad. There is no question that we've been playing bad, ladies and gents. And we're 2 goddamn points off top, right? We are 2 points off the top of the Premier League, which doesn't paint the whole picture, all right? It does not, in any way, shape, or form, paint the whole picture. But had we not conceded that goal against Everton, we would have been joint top of the Premier League. The margins here are narrow. They're really narrow. But Solskjaer's not going to be sacked when we've got 4 points and we're top of the Champions League group and we're 2 points off top of the Premier League. All right? That's just a fact. The performance is, there's so many issues and there's so many things that need to change, but it will not be the manager right now, okay? Yasin, we'll be making an appearance on the James and Vlad podcast soon. Good old James and Vlad, eh? Let them know that you want me on and I'll come on. They should really actually just, invite me on, really, bastards. He's at a crossroads with 2-ton trucks hurtling towards him. Hey, look, man, he's been playing Turnpike Road on Mario Kart his whole United career. Just going the wrong way down the motorway, just doing this, dodging criticism, dodging comments. Because it's what happens when you're Manchester United's manager. You expect, and you should expect, more criticism than anyone else gets. Guys, we dominated the Premier League for 20 years, all right? Because of that, people love watching our downfall, and the criticism will be more intense on Manchester United, and it should be. And that's why Solskjaer has been hyper-criticised by comparison to Frank Lampard, who just got away with it until he got sacked. Solskjaer will be criticised more. Let me go down here and see what we're saying in the comments, because there's plenty more coming in. Start Cavani every game, says Manish. Don't drop him. Figure out how to get Ronaldo to press. No, don't figure out how to get Ronaldo to press. Let Ronaldo do exactly what Ronaldo does. Ronaldo is the greatest of all time. Don't try and tell him at 36 that he's got to start pressing. That's a foolish comment. Cavani starting every game. I don't think it's possible with the setup that we have, if I'm being completely honest. Victorim, we can't even win our home games, and he keeps choosing Fred and McTominay. Like, seriously, he needs to stop doing that. When we have Matic and Pogba and Van der Beek in the team, we should be on top of the table with 19 points. But look, we should no doubt be doing better with certain results. I'm not saying that we've just lost to Villa and we've drawn to Everton. That's 3 points. That's 5 points that we should have. We should right now, in my opinion, be top of the league by 3 points. Because beating Villa at home, beating Everton at home, there should be expected wins. Absolutely expected wins for Manchester United, but they weren't. And it was poor from us. Really poor. But we're only 2 points off top. Nick, a Dutch pundit said 4-4-2 with Ronnie and Edison, Cavani and Mason up top. Keep the backs low on the pitch, not so high. That's then an offensive wide midfield. The problem there would be the space in terms of, if you're talking about an offensive wide midfield, where does that leave Bruno Fernandes? That forces Bruno out of position, which we can't and shouldn't do. He's the heartbeat of our team. And I don't really think you could. I mean, Wan-Bissaka would probably suit playing as a low fullback, but in the modern game, the fullbacks going forward, really, it's a crucial element and part of Manchester United, not just Manchester United, of modern football. And We play like Ole's personality, too nice. We need to be battlers. We played crap multiple times under Fergie, but by God, they knew they played us. We battered them from minute 1 to 90. This is a comment I would agree with, Ant. Man United's players are reflective of Manchester United's personality, which is reflective of the manager. The players are playing as a consequence of how they're being told to play. And how exactly you're right there. Everything ultimately does come down to the manager, and people are reflective of that. At the same time as that, or maybe that's exactly why we can't keep a clean sheet. Maybe that's exactly why we are reflecting that weaker part of Solskjaer's mentality, because Solskjaer does have a weak side. It's seen as a positive by so many in terms of his approachability and his likability, but for a lot of people, that's seen as a weakness, which can be exposed. And United have got that smiley front, which can and does get exposed. And it got exposed in the second half against Everton. We were 1-0 up at half time with a goal from Martial, and we have Ronaldo, Sancho, Pogba, Van der Beek, Matic, and Lingard on the bench. There is absolutely no way in hell that we should not have won that game. There are zero excuses that Manchester United can give to not winning that game. And we didn't win that game. It was we conceded. Not only did we conceded from a corner that we took. That's the rookie Sunday League. Horrendous football from Manchester United. And there's no excuses for it. That's what I'm saying. The performance is here. Everybody says that results are everything. Football is a results-driven game. That's just bullshit with Manchester United. Villarreal was a win. It was a result we won. Was that the real talking point the next day? No, it wasn't. It was about how we didn't control the majority of the game. So it's bullshit that with Manchester United, maybe it's different. But we're not a results-orientated... we are. The club inside, we are a results-orientated club. If we're winning, we're winning. That's good. But for people looking at United, it doesn't matter if we win. We have to win pretty. We have to win with controlling. And I agree to a certain extent. That's why I was so impressed in that. But I'll be honest, I was impressed with the first half against Everton. It was the best football we played through the zones in a long time. We were actually moving it through midfield into attack with possession, not just knocking it long. Hell yeah, we did have some crossfield passes, X, Y, Z. But against Everton, we controlled the game for the first time in a long time. But then we lost it all in the second half. And therefore, any positives that we saw in the second half just get completely outweighed by our inability to see a game out. We won't ever win 1-0. Geez, when was our last 1-0 win? I don't know. I'm going to go down to the comments here, as I always do throughout every stream. You know by now. It's interactive. Fire in your comments. Fire in your super chats. You can help steer the direction of the conversation with me. I'll try and open it as much as possible anyway. United is bigger than Ole. That's it. Wolves 1-0. Yeah, okay. And that Wolves 1-0, look, that was Manchester United being up against it for 75 minutes. And then Mason Greenwood coming up with an individual moment. That wasn't a game that United controlled. That's what I'm saying. When was the last time United scored a goal and held that lead? Firm that lead. I'm sure, obviously, it has happened under Solskjaer, but I can't really remember the last time. Let's have a look here. Ole is an average coach, says Aziz. We need a tactical coach like Klopp and Guardiola. Conte and Zidane are still very much available. I don't think Zidane's the answer, and I'll tell you who isn't the answer. Conte. So anybody who mentions Conte, I'll put that in the same bin as Lindelof in central defensive midfield. Nah, not Conte. So people are shouting Ten Hag, and when you look at the amount of goals, their record is ridiculous. Ridiculous this season. I don't know what it was. Conte can get fucked. Don't want him anywhere near my club. Zidane. I don't want I don't want to sack Solskjaer. I want to try and solve the problems because I think there's so many parts of Solskjaer that have been so crucial in this rebuild of our club. Ladies and gents, man, we need to all remember where we fucking were 3 years ago. Yeah, people say, oh yeah, we were in the Europa League. We were in the League Cup. Yeah, and then what fucking happened? Mourinho tore the club apart. Everything collapsed. Nah, as a football club, we are in a much better position because of the work that Solskjaer has done. On the pitch now, we need to represent that same growth. And right on paper, we're 2 points off top after 7. That's not a bad start to the season by any way, shape, or form. But the performances just are not there. Bring back the class of 92 to coach the team. No, Klein, I would disagree on that. That's a huge problem. United, if we're doing anything, we can't look backwards. We can't look back to Mike Phelan. We can't look back to René Meulenstein or anyone like that. We have to look forward with a progressive mindset, with a progressive new coaching style inside Manchester United. That's what Solskjaer needs. I think he's just, that's for me, the issue with Phelan. Phelan might be good, but Phelan's based on stuff that was brought up in the 90s and the 2000s. Based on something that's happened before. We need something that's happening in front of us. So if we're going to be getting, and that's what, look, you've got McKenna and Carrigan, who are two new coaches, two new mindsets, and they're all learning on the job. I want someone to come in there. I don't think it's Mike Phelan. And people are saying, you're throwing Mike Phelan under the bus. Fuck, man. Everyone's been throwing Solskjaer under the bus for so long. I just want Solskjaer to be selfish and say, right, okay, this isn't working right now. Who's going to go? It's either me or the coaches. Coaches first. Simple as that. If I was Solskjaer and I had that much intensity and pressure on my job, it's what I would do. Sure, it might be selfish, but you've got to be selfish to exist in the elite levels of sport. Ronaldo is one of the most selfish people in the entire world. Why? Because he is what matters. And what has happened? He's won the Champions League 5 times. He's won the Ballon d'Or 5 times. He is the king of success because of that selfish nature. But selfishness is not always a negative characteristic. All right? It can be. Absolutely. I'm sure we all know someone in life who is mega selfish, doesn't really help anybody, think, what an asshole. In the elite levels of sport, if you don't have that selfish streak, you will get run over. You will get stomped on. You will turn into the doormat for the front door. Solskjaer is now at the crossroads where he's going to become that doormat. Unless he points the fingers elsewhere. Because he can point them all to himself and say, look, I am the problem. It's all down to me. But then goodbye, you're sacked. Because there's no way you can look at this team anymore now and not say that there are mega issues with this coaching team, with this coaching staff. And it either goes to Solskjaer or to the coaches. Kevin, you're feeling pretty chipper this morning. You're talking trash. Shut your mouth. If you don't know what to do, Ollie is foolish and he will ruin my club. Thank you very much for that really insightful comment there, Kevin. Victorim, the answer is not so sack Ollie, but seriously, if he wants to keep his job, he really needs to turn this form around quickly. Always behind Ollie. He deserves another year, but no more excuses with this squad. It's not about deserving more time. It's not about should be given this. It's like, Solskjaer, man, I need to see a response from you. It's your job to look at this team now and go, you know what? That's not fucking good enough. And it's your job to make sure that that level is brought up. That's your job as a manager and ultimately falls down to you. Whether or not you want to accept that responsibility by saying that you're failing or saying that your people that are surrounding you are not helping you in parts where you have fundamental flaws as a manager. He's clearly not a good coach. All right. But I think he can still be a good manager for United. They are two different things. Abby saying, Sam, do a video on the potential coaches who could help Ole. That's something I really want to do. I really need to do some research into that because it's going to be quite a difficult video to do. Saki, 2 points off the top, but look at who we've played compared to our rivals. Absolutely, Saki, but at the same time, you can only beat who's put in front of you. And that's why October is so crucial for Manchester United, because we play Liverpool, because we play Leicester, because we play Spurs, because we play Arsenal and Chelsea. All 5 of those games come in our next 10 fixtures, right? So that's when, after those, we might be looking at 7th, 8th position if shit doesn't change, right? That is what we're faced with. And that's why this is the biggest challenge for Solskjaer, because he's got to turn it around and turn it around quickly. And it's such a substantial issue for Manchester United that, for me, doesn't lie with the starting 11 anymore. The issues for me are not the players. The issues for me are deeper than that. And our ability to change that over a very small period of time, I'm not sure. I really question that. One player, of course, that so many people want to see in this team is, of course, Donny van der Beek. Robin, that comment caught my eye. Wake up, smell the coffee. Nice guy, great part of our history, but he's totally out of his depth. Right now, he's out of his depth. He's sinking. But he needs to get himself a life raft. And I think the coaching staff should be that life raft that keeps supporting Solskjaer in the fundamental problems that he has as a manager. but they do not. All right? And I think that can be changed. Donny van der Beek. His agents have been working hard for weeks to study an exit plan for him in January. United would like to recoup at least partially of the 45 mil they paid for him, which promises to be impossible at the moment. Look, Donny, I do not think will be getting into this team anytime soon. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I would like Donny to be sold in January. All right? Simple as that. I want Donny to be sold because I don't want to see this happen to Donny anymore. I've completely switched. I told you at the start of the season, you want to just keep players like Donny in the squad because it's going to help you. If you get an injury to Bruno or an injury to Popper, who have you got to call him? Donny. But I don't agree with it anymore. He's earned more respect from that with the cameos that he's had, in my opinion. You might disagree with that. Nick, October is the biggest month in Ole's coaching career. Absolutely spot on. October is where it makes or breaks him because now we've had the start of the season, which has been gentle by comparison, right? With the players that with the teams that we've had. October, no way he can come out of that with those levels of performances and results and expect to keep his job, in my opinion. What's this bit next? Rio, this is what Rio has said, though. Rio obviously is disagreeing. Rio Ferdinand. One thing I would say, let me bring this full screen. One thing I would say, it's not the time to panic. This isn't the time to start calling for Solskjaer's head because they are still within touching distance at the top. They've still got an opportunity to mount a threat and contend for the league. But they really have to start getting some consistency and form back. I don't think anybody can disagree with what Rio Ferdinand's had to say there. Jonathan saying, I thought you were judging Ollie at the end of the season, so now you're knee-jerking. Maybe that's not directed at me. We have to get that form back. Rio's right. As I said, that's what I was saying there, man. We are 2 points off the top of the Premier League. And we are probably top. Are we top of our Champions League group? Well, we've got 4 points. No, 3 points. Sorry. Now's not the time to call for it, but now is the time to call for that change to happen. That's why we're at that crossroad. That's why we're at that crossroad, man. And I want Solskjaer to succeed so much. I still question whether he can. I've always questioned whether he can. I've always questioned whether Solskjaer is the manager that's going to take us back to those titles. But he's proven me wrong time and time again. And this is an opportunity where Solskjaer has to prove so many people wrong here. So many people now really think that Solskjaer is just not good enough. He doesn't have the quality to take it all forward. He's holding Manchester United back. He can't do it. It's now on Solskjaer to prove those people wrong. And as I've said all along, it's this situation that Solskjaer actually really thrives in as manager. I backed us to beat Villarreal and I backed us to beat Everton. I was right about Villarreal and I was right about Everton until we decided to, not defend. But we typically get responses from Manchester United and from Solskjaer when these moments arise. We've been here before. Last November, I believe, was a big pressure moment for Solskjaer when the players really responded. And we need to see it again here. But we not only need to see it again here, we need to see it and go further forwards. It has to take a massive step forwards because it's not the time. In my opinion, I agree with Rio. It's not the time to start calling for his head. We are just close to the top, but we have to get that sustained improvement. When you're seeing teams like City and Liverpool doing what they're doing, and it comes back to United, it's staggeringly different. It really is staggeringly different, and we can't see defending like this anymore. We cannot see defending like this anymore. All right, that's as simple as that. And look, I'm going to do it later on. I'm going to do a video on the changes I think we need to see at Manchester United because I don't think that change is going to be a manager. Not right now. So because of that, I'm going to proactively look at what I think can change and can improve Manchester United. And if none of that happens, and if in 10 games' time we're here saying that that Solskjaer really can't do it, then simple as that. He can't keep his job. Varun, how you doing, buddy? Could Ole be picking McFred as a result of a tactical problem because Paul doesn't like to track back in a double pivot and ends up isolating Scott or Matic? Look, you could say that if you want, but look at Manchester United's results and look at Manchester United's performances in midfield. It's simple as that. you can't stick with Fred because of the quality of the football we're seeing. Chris, do you think I'm wrong on backing Ole? He's going to fail and not win anything or go close with that amazing team. That's what I was. Look, I'm where I am right now, and I'm sure that position can modify and change over the course of time. People, you all need to understand that as well. Just because I am where I am now, it doesn't mean that that opinion won't change in 10, 15, 20 games time. That's what happens with opinions. Opinions change and opinions adapt and evolve according to what's happening. Right now, I'm backing Solskjaer. He's got my support. That fucking team performances, though, they don't have my support. The coaching, they do not have my support. I know I'm pointing my fingers where I want to point my fingers. So many of you, you're pointing your fingers at Solskjaer. Cool, you're entitled to your opinion. You've reached a point where I haven't yet. All right? And I want to try and convince as many people as possible to stay on my side of the fence until it's untenable. I was supporting Van Gaal and I supported Mourinho until it was untenable. Then I turned. I will do the same with Solskjaer. And for me, I'm nowhere near that stage yet. All right? Everyone's entitled to their opinions. It's the beauty of football. The beauty of football is not VAR. The beauty of football is opinions, controversy, and arguments. And right now, there's plenty of arguments going on at United. Let's just try and start winning games. Easy said than done. Leicester's coming up in 2 weeks. This is an opportunity for us to sit back and try and assess. That's what I'm going to do. There'll be a video going out at 1 today. Thank you very much, everybody, for the comments, for the super chats, for the interactions today. It's a tough time for United right now. It's a tough time for Solskjaer. At least we had the Villarreal win, right? Because if we didn't have that, it'll be a depressing couple of weeks. But it still will be a depressing couple of weeks because of what we saw between Liverpool and City and because of what we saw against Everton. But look, if any of you have questions, as always, hit me up on Twitter at @SamPeoples_. Thank you very much for tuning in this morning, for your interaction and for your questions. Honestly, it's good. I enjoy it. Even if I don't agree with it all the time, I do bring your opinions in. So make sure you subscribe if you're new to United People's TV. I'll be here, as you always, Monday to Friday. Even in the international break, I'm here every morning at 9:30 discussing the latest United news. And I'll be here at 1 p.m. today, hopefully, with another video on United and the changes, in my opinion, that are really needed right now. And I don't think it's Solskjaer.